Right, so once again, thank you all for being here this morning. The plan here is to talk about an exciting new program that EBCE, or East Bay Community Energy, is on the verge of launching, and that's our community solar program. And this is an information session intended to be for prospective community sponsors. I'll quickly just walk through the agenda for this morning. First of all, I'll do a welcome and some housekeeping items. I also have a poll for you all. So a quick little icebreaker. Unfortunately, I don't think we have a time to introduce ourselves, all of us anyway. I'll give an overview of the community solar program, including what the program is, how it works. So covering the benefits of the program, who's eligible, how's it structured, and then before doing a deeper dive into sponsorship. In other words, what does it mean to be a sponsor? What's the sponsor's role? What are the requirements? I'll give you a hint that one of them is providing a commitment letter, and I'll share some more information about that. Before covering, what are the next steps? If based on all of this information, you're interested in becoming a community solar project sponsor, what should you do next? That'll be kind of the last set of slides here today. So that's the agenda. Moving into our quick welcome and housekeeping session. As I said, welcome. I also want to do a quick poll. Let me see if this works. This is my first time doing this. So I have launched a poll that I think you all should be able to see. And I'm asking you to share what type of organization you represent. I see you all are filling it out. Looks like we've got a good mix of folks. And I think once I close the poll, you'll be able to see the results. Okay, so I'll go ahead and hit end. I think you should be able to see the results now. It looks like many of you are here on behalf of nonprofits or community-based organizations. We've got a good number representing schools or school districts, local government agencies, and then some who fall into the other or not applicable bucket. Great, that's helpful. So that has a tie-in directly to the intended audience for this presentation. So the intended audience here is organizations who may want to be a sponsor for a community solar project. And I'll cover this in more detail later, but to be eligible to be a sponsor, you must be a nonprofit community-based organization, such as a local government agency, a school, or as I said, a nonprofit. And by way of housekeeping, I will provide access to these slides after the webinar. So I will send this to all of you using the email address you used to register. I will also be posting these on our website, and I'll provide a link to that. Then last but not least, I'll make sure we have time for Q&A at the end. So please hold your questions until then, just to make sure we cover all the material here. Okay. So let's start with an overview of the community solar program. And I think this is important because as a prospective community sponsor, it's important that you understand, frankly, what you're signing up for, what this program really looks like. So one key thing to know, just by way of background, is that this program was created by the California Public Utilities Commission, or the CPUC, back in 2018. And it's meant to promote the development of renewable generation in communities that have historically been left behind. EBCE has been given the authority to implement this program on our own. And I'll also mention that PG&E also has a program like this. Other community choice aggregators in the Bay Area also have programs like this. This program allows customers to receive 100% solar energy at a 20% discount. The key here is that this is a community solar program, which means it was conceived of as a sort of Solar for All program that doesn't require customers to have a rooftop that can support solar or to be able to host the project on site at all. It's meant to be located somewhere in the community, not necessarily on your rooftop as a customer. The last bullet here is sort of why we're all here today, which is that the program also requires that these projects have a community sponsor and that the projects be located within 5 miles of the community it serves. So that's the high level overview, and I'll go into much more detail on eligibility and these geographic requirements in a bit here. To put a finer point on some of the program benefits. So these kind of fall into 2 buckets. I'll talk about the benefits to customers first. Customers, as I mentioned before, receive 100% solar energy at a 20% discount. The key here is that that discount is on top of any discounts the customers may already receive through programs like CARE or FARA. And these are programs that are aimed at low-income customers. The CARE discount, I believe, is about 30% right now, and FARA is about 18%. So this 20% discount is in addition to those CARE and FARA discounts. So that's a big benefit. And then, of course, by participating, customers can contribute to the growth of community solar. On the sponsor side of things, the benefits to sponsors are quite similar. Sponsors also are eligible to receive 100% solar energy and a 20% bill discount. In addition, sponsors can receive marketing, education, and outreach funding from EBCE to help us educate and recruit customer subscribers to the solar project. And similarly, you can help contribute to the growth of local solar as well. How does this program work? At a high level, or to sort of summarize it, community-based organizations partner with solar project developers to sponsor a project on behalf of nearby residents within a disadvantaged community. You'll notice that the word disadvantaged community is capitalized. I'll explain later how that's defined, but this is a state definition. A couple things to note at the outset, and I included these notes here based on some of the attendees today and some of the questions you submitted. I wanted to make sure you all know that projects can have more than one sponsor, so there's plenty of sponsorship opportunity to go around. And the sponsor does not need to host the project on site. So if you're interested in sponsoring, you don't need to also be concerned about, do I have a roof that can support solar? Do I have land that can support solar? You don't need to host it on your property. The key is you're partnering with the developer and working on outreach and identifying any community suggested project sites. And again, I'll go into more detail on that in a second here. A really key element of this program, and this is related to the fact that it's a Public Utilities Commission program, is that there are a lot of eligibility requirements. So I wanted to walk through those in a little bit of detail so we're all on the same page about who's eligible. And eligibility can kind of be thought about in 3 different buckets. So there's the eligibility of the community or the project location. There's the eligibility of participating customers, and the eligibility of community sponsors. On the community side of things, the solar project itself must be located in a disadvantaged community. Again, capital D, capital C, and I'll explain that in a second. It must also be within 5 miles of the customer's community. On the customer side of things, customers who subscribe to the project must also be located in a disadvantaged community and within 5 miles of the project. At least half of the customers subscribing must be low income. So that's a minimum, is that 50% of them must be low income. On the sponsorship side of things, and this is where you all come in, organizations sponsoring the project must be a nonprofit, community-based organization, a local government, or a school district. In order to be eligible for the discount under the program, the same rules that apply to customers apply to the sponsor. And those rules are that sponsors must be based in a disadvantaged community that is within 5 miles of the project and be an EBCE customer. I mentioned before, I'd explain what a disadvantaged community is, since it's a capitalized term. Some of you may be familiar with this, others may not be. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time on this topic. And so for the purpose of this program, DACs are defined geographically as the 25% highest scoring census tracts according to the state's CalEnviroScreen tool. And the image you're seeing on the right-hand side here is a snapshot of DACs in EBCE's service area. And for folks' awareness, EBCE cities that have DAC census tracts are listed here at the bottom of the picture, and I'll read them off in case it's a little bit small. Those include Oakland, the city of Tracy, San Leandro, Hayward, Union City, Emeryville, Berkeley, and Newark. And in parentheses there, I've included how many census tracts fall within, how many DAC census tracts fall within each of those cities. So that's a lot of rules and eligibility criteria. I thought it would be helpful to walk through sort of graphically what this could look like, and walk through some examples. So here's an example of a project that could be located off-site. And as I mentioned before, there's really three components to be thinking about here. The first is, where's the project located, or the community it's in? Second is the customer. Third is the community sponsor. So in this example, there's a project that is rooftop or ground-mounted solar. It's located in a disadvantaged community in EBCE's service. You can think of the little blue square there as being a disadvantaged community. There's also a set of customer subscribers, as I mentioned. These are EBCE customers. They're located in a DAC as well, or a disadvantaged community. Maybe it's a different disadvantaged community from the project itself. 50% of them are low-income subscribers at a minimum. And then finally, in this example, let's say the community sponsor is a school located in a third separate disadvantaged community. The key here again is that the solar project must be within 5 miles of both the customers and the sponsor. 75% of the project's output goes to the customers, 25% of it goes to the community sponsor. So that's example number one. The other way this could work is, let's say the community sponsor does in fact have space on site to host the project. Maybe they have a really good rooftop for it, or they've got a big area of land nearby. That's this example. So again, you've got the project site. It's located in a disadvantaged community. It's in EBCE service area. Community sponsor in this example, let's say it's a school and it's located in a DAC and it hosts the project. Meanwhile, the customers, let's say they are in a separate disadvantaged community in EBCE service area. Again, they're still within 5 miles of the project. And same thing with the last example, 75% of the project output goes to the subscribers, 25% of it goes to the sponsor. All right, so a quick note on the sponsor's role. The key here again is that the sponsor is helping project developers and the community come together. So that means you're helping to identify any community suggested project sites. You're working with EBCE to conduct outreach. And last but not least, providing a letter of commitment. And this letter of commitment is something I'll spend a little bit of time on now. I invite all of you to attend upcoming information sessions where we'll talk about this more. But the letter of commitment is key because it's the one requirement that the Public Utilities Commission imposes on sponsors. So if you want to be a sponsor, you have to provide a letter of commitment. And it should include 4 things. The first is demonstration of community interest. Second is an estimated number of subscribers. Third is a preliminary outreach plan. And fourth is any siting preferences or community suggested sites. And the way this works is the community sponsor provides that letter to a solar project developer who includes it in their bid package when they participate in EBCE's solar project request for offers. So to back up a little bit, EBCE is required to run a competitive bid process for this program. So that's the RFO, the request for offers process. To drill down a little bit into the sponsorship process and timeline, I've included some high-level details here. So the request for offer process can sort of be thought about in 3 different stages. The first stage is right now. It's before the request for offers opens. The second stage is the RFO period, and that's from when it opens until when it closes. And that period is from September 13th, 2021 through December 10th of 2021. So the RFO closes on December 10th. Projects will be selected in February of 2022, and that's sort of the third stage here. So to go back to the first stage, the one we're in now, between today and December, prospective sponsors should be thinking about partnering with a solar project developer and thinking about potential project sites and outreach plans. And as I've said before, providing the solar project developer with a letter of commitment. What happens during the RFO period, especially once it closes, the solar developer includes that letter in their bid package to EBCE. EBCE will then evaluate all of the bids we receive and select projects once the RFO closes. When projects are selected, again, this will be in approximately February of 2022, that's when outreach can begin and we can start recruiting customers to subscribe to the project. Once the project is live and once we have the minimum number of low-income customers required to participate, which is 50%, subscribers can begin receiving the bill discount. All right, so next steps. If based on all of this information, you're excited and you're interested in sponsoring a project, I want to make sure you're aware of 3 things. The first is that it's time to begin connecting with solar project developers, and we are here to help with that. I view EBCE's role as being about facilitating partnerships with solar project developers. And so far, we've got 2 ways of doing that. The first way is I would ask you all to fill out a sponsor interest form. And then what we will do is feature your organization on our website so that developers can reach out to you or vice versa. Secondly, we will be hosting what I'm calling a matchmaking event on September 28th. And this is a place where developers and sponsors can meet virtually to talk about potential community solar projects. Secondly, begin thinking about the letters of commitment I mentioned. And to help sort of facilitate that, we will be hosting an information session next month as well on September 14th, where we'll do a deeper dive into the letters of commitment. And I can share, for example, how EBCE will evaluate those as part of our as part of our RFO process. Last but not least, I invite you all to stay up to date on the request for offers process. The best way to do that right now is to join our mailing list, and I've included a link here where you can do that. Here are our upcoming events all on one page. Again, September 14th is the second information session for project sponsors. The topic here will be the letters of commitment. On September 24th, we will host a webinar about the request for offers itself. This webinar will be more aimed at project developers, but I invite all community sponsors to attend. I think it's helpful just to see what the process and timeline will look like. And I should also mention that none of these events are required by any means. These are all meant to be helpful information sessions. September 28th, again, is the matchmaking event. And then last but not least, in October, we've also put a placeholder for a third information session if it looks like that will be helpful. And the topic for that is to be determined. If you are looking for additional resources or have any questions, I invite you to email me directly. I'm Samantha Weaver, and my email address is there on the screen. You can also contact JP Ross, and his email address is there as well. For more information, I also recommend checking out our Community Solar Program website. We have a separate website for the Community Solar RFO as well. So you can find more information at both of those places. And I think that brings me to the end. I see there are some questions going on in the chat.